Chicano, soy Chicano, and I'm brown, and I'm proud, and I make it in my own way. Kind of bilingual, huh? Some people say I'm violent, cause I'm no longer silent. I'm here to tell them I'm a Mexicano.
A piece of New Mexico history that maybe a lot of people don't know about. An organization that was very vital to bring a lot of consciousness and activity and resistance during the 1960s and 1970s. The Black Berets. Tonight we have guests who were in one way or the other part of the Black Berets. We have Federico Reed over here on my left. You can see it there? Okay. Joaquin Luján and Richard Moore. In a few minutes we will have another guest come on, Judy Espinosa. I want to start first with Federico, because Federico, you have a you were awarded there was a Vision award for a documentary film that you are producing about the Black Berets. Can you talk a little bit about that? What?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I was really honored and pleased when I was approached by the Berets and asked to help assemble their history. And this has been a project we've been working on for a number of years now, and it's been laborious, but it's exciting and real satisfying. What I've done is I focused, although we all understand that the civil rights movement in New Mexico, in particular the Chicano youth movement in New Mexico, was made up of thousands and thousands of people. I thought that the best way to tell this story is to follow the social protest movement through the eyes of the founding members of the Black Beret organization of New Mexico. And and so we've got here the 7.5 minute work in progress that talks about the contributions and the work of the Berets.
Está cerca del agua, no nos moverán. When you're calling yourself a Chicano, you're announcing to the world, and you're telling them, hey, I know my history. I understand why I am who I am today, and what made my community who they are. I understand that the history of conquest and exploitation and the things that we've contributed to this world. All the good things that we've brought to this world. So that's why I'm Chicano and I'm proud.
That's right.
And I'm gonna do it my way.
That's right.
Right, okay. So
Will you help me in an applause and some vivas? Okay, ready? Un aplauso primero. ¡Viva Federico! ¡Viva! ¡Viva Federico! ¡Viva! ¡Viva Federico! ¡Viva!
muchas gracias. Thank you.
Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí.
For us as a group of youth during that time, it was very, very important that we establish our organization as a New Mexican organization rooted in the history of New Mexico, and that the majority, the primary leadership of our organization would be New Mexico young men and young women. And that was very, 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 very crucial to us. That didn't necessarily mean that we didn't work with others. That didn't necessarily mean we didn't establish relations with others and whatever, but that meant to us that this movement, and New Mexico's changing, and we'll touch on that. You can see things making a major shift here, which is very, very dangerous to the establishment of our history and our culture here, not only in the north, but throughout New Mexico. So one of the things that we did during that time was, one of the first things when we sat down and talked about forming an organization, we said, okay, who needs to be providing the direction for this organization? So we developed a survey, very simple survey, and we canvassed several of the neighborhoods in the North Valley and the South Valley of Albuquerque. And we asked our elders and we asked other young people, we're forming a new youth organization. We're going to work on specific issues. What kind of issues do you think should be the priority issues for our organization? And so that's what really provided the platform for the Black Beret organization. So the elders said to us, you need to open up a school. We need a school. And this is some of the photos here that was in there. The captions are not on these right now, so it's hard to catch them. And we call them liberation schools. No? We call them liberation schools. They were Black Beret liberation schools. And that's what some of those photos, that was Father Luis Jaramillo, little Fred. If you didn't recognize Father Jaramillo on some of those photos. There's probably three generations of us in there. Sometimes I look and I don't even know I look that way. You know, and Pat told me when I came in here, you know, I mean, I have to introduce myself to my relatives because some of my relatives don't recognize me right now or whatever. So we opened up, we decided that we needed liberation schools, and we made a decision that we were going to open it up for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. This was not a child care center. This was an educational center. It was a liberation school. And the reason that we really chose 3, 4, and 5-year-olds was primarily because it was our opinion that we needed to get to our young sisters and brothers at a very, very early age. You know? We were really about being proud of ourselves, being proud of our history, being proud of our culture, and that kind of thing. So at that point, it was about Chicano power. You hear it there. We believed it. We believed in liberation. We still believe in liberation today. And much of what we do today is still based on our original beliefs from our organizations and the organizations we came out of during that time. The other thing that is flagged here is that the community folks said, enough of this police brutality stuff. Our people are being killed, they're being beaten in communities and this kind of thing. So they had asked the Black Berets to set up the Black Beret Community Patrol Program. You know? And so what we would do, and that was under our self-defense piece, one of the mottos of our organization was to serve, educate, and defend.
Chicano, soy Chicano, and I'm brown, and I'm proud, and I make it in my own way.
For the money that people receive from the New Visions program from the state, they do a professional community service to the state. And that's what he's doing here today by sharing this with all of you. And he's doing the same things in other parts of the state. So if you are a New Mexico filmmaker, or if you know anyone who's interested in our programs, we have a number of opportunities available totally free to New Mexicans, then let me know, or visit our website, or I'll give you a business card. But that's the New Mexico Film Office. We're actually not far from here because we're now on the Santa Fe University campus. And without further ado, Federico Reed. Yay.
Pues, buenas tardes y muchas gracias por veniendo a la junta. This type of project requires the cooperation of the community. Totally, I mean totally, from the people that make the history to to the people that help bring it to the greater public, right? And and that's why I think it's so difficult to really get to tell a people's history from the bottom up, because it requires so much work, and aside from the research that's even to get the basic narrative down, and just the library research that you need to do. I mean, all the field research that's required to be able to make sense of an untold story or an untold history in New Mexico. And that's really what we're doing here. I mean, we're assembling a history that was destined to be lost in the memories of these individuals that made it. And I think had it not been their willingness, and again, graciously, these people, these activists, Richard primarily, talked to me, and he confided in me, had confidence in me being able to tell the history from their perspective.
Much of what we did in the 60s and the 70s, as I say, we have a lot to be proud of, and a lot was gained. Civil rights, our sisters and brothers made it possible, those that are no longer with us, those that are still with us, the holding of documentation, the sharing with young people of history and culture and all those kind of things that happen. Even the sharing of this and having discussions about things, you know, and these kind of things that are very, very, very crucial to us. So this means a lot. Doing this piece means a lot to me, not because it was only history, because you all know the saying is if you don't deal with your own history, somebody else may deal with it for you, and if they do, it's going to be from their perception of what the history was, not from your perception of the people that made that history. It's not about Richard Moore. Richard Moore is just one person amongst the hundreds upon hundreds of members of our organization, young men and young women, that really brought these changes about in our community. So what we're looking for, lastly, to say to you, is we're looking for a group of men and women, whether they're young men and young women, or whether they're middle-aged women and men, or whether they're elders, that are willing to understand our history, to defend our history, to talk about our history to other people, and to stand up for our rights for as long as we live and for our generations to come. If any of you are want to be any of those young men and young women, which I happen to think many of you are, then we've got many different programs, and this is one of them for you to plug in. So I just wanted to thank you all, thank YDI. I really want to thank you in the most sincere way. I do get a little bit emotional because I get a little pissed off. I'm gonna be real honest with you. I get a little upset and a little bit emotional about that, because it's things like this, when I watch these 8 minutes or 7 minutes or whatever, that remind me that we've come a long ways over these last 30 or 40 years, but we've got a long ways to go to make our communities a better place, to make this city a better place, to make this state a better place, to make this country a better place, and make this world a better place for all of us to live in and work in. So thank you very much for listening.
Son las Adelitas, chicanas bonitas, son las Adelitas de revolución.
Buenas tardes todos. Soy Federico Reed. Muchas gracias, la Nancy. They say, oh, it brings back memories. No te pongas a llorar. Brings back a lot of memories. No, bueno, pues, this is a project that we've been working on for more longer than I care to say, you know. Probably since we started talking about it, I guess probably 5 years, close to 5 years. And this is the result of what we've come up with thus far. This we're looking forward to having a refined 15-minute segment completed and ready to present in September or October. And so that's the event that we're really looking forward to. This was really our first pass at trying to reassemble this history of which we were all a part of and participated in making. And so, I wanted to say it's a real honor and it's a real privilege to me to have to be able to do this, to have the opportunity to put this thing together for everybody. Because if it wasn't for the cooperation of the community to put together a populist history like we're doing, it just doesn't happen, and it becomes an elitist history. And I think I'm really proud of the work that Richard has put into this, his commitment, and Joaquin's, and Father Jaramillo, and Richard Sautel, and Marvin that's here today, You know, Lauro Silva, you know, was doing what he had to do in those days. All of us transformed the nation in the way we look at ourselves today.
And we came from all over the city, and you see when people were introducing themselves, Joaquin and Dickie and Marvin, Father Jamil and Rosita come from Martineztown, Tony, and on with the different members of the Black Berets. No? We came from all over the city. We weren't located in just one part of town or whatever. No? And that was very important to us too, because we wanted to build a citywide organization. And so the coming together, the other thing that I think was very, very important for us during that time period was we needed to listen to the communities. The communities were the ones, the people in the communities were the ones that needed to give us the direction about what we should be working on. So this running through this very, very quickly, and you see a little bit here. We surveyed communities, and for you remember Old Town, we walked Old Town hands from door to door, house to house. We talked to young people, we talked to elders, and we talked, if we form a youth organization, which we were in the process of forming, what kind of issues do you think we should work on? And some of you know this. One of the things that was said was healthcare. And then you can see an after result of that was the Bobby Garcia Memorial Clinic. One of the other things, the lack of healthcare in our communities, we found it, and Lucy and others that staffed the Bobby Garcia Clinic. We founded the first health clinic in the South Valley. We founded the first health clinic in this city of Albuquerque, community run, managed, and whatever, community run health clinic. We had a motto in the Black Berets. It was to serve, educate, and defend. Serve was some of the things that we talked to you about, is provide services for our people, to educate, the educational sessions that we had, sessions in terms of what was going on in terms of Chicano history, Native American history, African American history, Asian Pacific history, what was going on in the world, and then at the same time, then to defend with the community patrols and this kind of thing that we did. In the process of that, we lost several of our members in our organization, and that strikes a serious feeling inside ourselves.
We really had to look within ourselves for education. I was people like Beverly, Lauro, and some other people who were fortunate enough to get a little more education than some of us, that were bringing us on to what's happening today, who we are, where we came from, and we put that kind of feeling together. So the feeling of, you know, we talk about the berets, but the berets, we were on like this, and then the state was on like this. Everybody came on, everybody stood up to the plate. Father Jaramillo should be made a saint for what he did for us during those days and standing up.
Yay!
All right.